Good morning. My name is Bernard Siu, and on behalf of the coordinators of this service, I would like to welcome you all. I know some of you may not have had a chance to sign the guest book over here yet. We'll have time after the service is over for you to be able to do that. We gather here today to remember the life of our cherished friend and classmate, Jeffrey Lee. We would also like to thank everyone who reached out on such short notice, and we extend our deepest sympathies to Jeffrey's family, his parents, Howard and May Lee, and his brother, Matthew Lee. Jeffrey Lee was born on February 23, 1990. At Whitney, he was an exceptionally remarkable student, at once a scholar and an athlete. Many of us remember Jeff because we shared time together in the many activities with which he was involved, from MUN to Aspects, to robotics and space set, to water polo and swim. It was evident that his excellence would take him far. But many of us also know Jeff as a great person and a loyal friend. He genuinely cared about everyone around him, not just his peers, but those younger than him as well. He had a certain penchant for tending to others, a gift he hoped to share in healthcare. After graduating from Whitney in 2008, Jeffrey went on to the University of Pennsylvania to pursue a dual degree in the School of Nursing and the Wharton School of Business. There, he continued to succeed by combining scholastic rigor with an open heart for service. From the company that Jeff kept, it is evident that Jeff's charisma and kindness attracted friends from everywhere, at Whitney, at UPenn, and at his summer internships. Today, while sharing our fondest memories of Jeffrey with each other, we remember Jeff not only for his success, but also for his generosity and compassion. At this time, I hope you will permit me to speak about Jeffrey on a personal level. He was a dear friend whom I will miss dearly. I hope to share with you a letter addressed to him. Dear Jeff, when I met you nearly a decade ago, you impressed me with your height and intelligence. You were the tall, skinny kid in 7th grade who could memorize pi to 100 digits in Mrs. Tomouka's 7th grade math class. To me, you were distant from everybody else, both vertically and intellectually. That distance began to diminish when we joined the robotics club together. As 7th graders, we were the youngest members of the club. You garnered respect while I gained reputation as a curious troublemaker. But we stuck together. We shared memories of long hours trying to get the robot to work. Finally, we made it to the Southern California Regional Championship, and our team won the Rookie All-Star Award. You were no longer a stranger, but rather a fellow teammate. The gap between us continued to shrink in the 8th grade through a group project. We decided to take on an extra credit assignment for Mr. Bender's science class. You, Ashton, Jelena, Jeannie, Catherine, and I produced Judge Newton, a riveting murder mystery short where you played two characters, Mr. Fender Bender and Judge Isaac Newton. While filming at my house, you jumped into the pool 4 times, fully clothed, just so that we could have the fall filmed from multiple angles. You were a true champion for our production. It was then I realized your dedication and loyalty. You were a classmate and a teammate, but more importantly, you were a great friend. I was so glad when I found out that we would be attending college in the same state. Only later would we find out that Pittsburgh and Philadelphia were separated by 300 miles. Nonetheless, in 2009, we were able to meet up over Thanksgiving at Jelena's house. Your accounts of college at UPenn continue to amaze me. You were the same bright and cheery Jeff, and you continue to succeed. Your hard work brought you to an internship in Hong Kong last summer. In July, we had an opportunity to meet up for lunch in Hong Kong, where you were kind enough to treat me to sushi. We took pictures outside your office building, in front of fancy sports cars overlooking Victoria Harbor. I told you that you would be driving one of those fancy sports cars real soon. You thought I was joking, but I really wasn't. I saw that you were on your road to success, but you remained consistently modest. This was your typical character, humility amidst achievement. You were steadfastly kind as well, especially to those younger than you. I recall your anecdote of treating a young patient who asked you how you grew to be so tall. You told him that if you eat your veggies and drink your milk, you'll grow up to be this tall too. You were always able to find a connection with everyone. You motivated others to do their best, to follow in your example of excellence. The last time I saw you was over fall break in early October of this year. I visited you, Angelina, in Philadelphia. I remember talking to you then about the difficult decisions ahead regarding your future. You told me that the most important things were not the money you would make or the success you would achieve. You were more concerned about your family and friends. Even after all your successes, you were grounded by what mattered the most to you in life, the people around you. Over fall break, I jokingly told you that I, too, would eat my veggies and drink my milk to try to catch up to you. But you were never truly distant, Jeff. You excelled in many aspects, but you were always close to your family and friends. I will miss you, buddy, but I know that you will never be far away. You live on in the hearts of the many lives you touched. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bernard. First, we're going to have several of Jeffrey's friends who would like to pay their own tribute to him with some statements that they have prepared. Some are from friends who are currently out of town and could not be here, but we will have those who are here to be able to read this for you. And then afterwards, we'll be opening up the floor to those of you who would like to share something just really quick and just to show that you care, okay? So speaking very first is Vincent Chen.
I first want to say that I am deeply honored to have this opportunity to speak to all of you, gathered here both in person and in spirit around the world, in remembrance of our community's own Jeffrey Lee. I, along with many of you, had the privilege of being his classmate for 6 years here at Whitney High School. We had a number of classes together, spent countless hours playing basketball both in our time here and after graduation, and talked endlessly about our hopes, dreams, and ambitions. There are plenty of admirable qualities about Jeffrey that we will all remember him by. Intelligent, brilliant, talented, driven, accomplished. Certainly his academic excellence is oft repeated. However, I would like to say a few words about Jeffrey's personality and character that to me made him a truly exceptional person and friend. As a 7th grade scrub, I was a chubby tub of a kid used to running out of gas more than running a mile. I remember my first mile time, 13 minutes. As hard as I tried, I would always let up halfway through, wheezing heavily, hands on my hips, chest burning as I walked the last lap and a half around the track. Each time I would watch as runner after runner would pass and lap me, sometimes for the second and even third time. But one day, as I had my head thrown back on my shoulders, waddling through the wet grass on a foggy morning, one of those runners, a tall, lanky guy named Jeffrey Lee, patted me on the back and jogged alongside me at my snail's pace. He asked me how I was feeling, to which I panted, exhausted. We talked for half a lap, after which he encouraged me to run the last one. With my legs still burning, I told him I couldn't, and he jogged alongside me as I walked the rest of the way. For the next week, Jeffrey ran with me as I ran, and then jogged with me as I walked toward the finish. I always hated crossing the finish line last, but at least Jeffrey made sure I wouldn't do it alone. With Jeffrey's constant encouragement and presence, I gradually improved to the point where running those miles was no longer an embarrassment, but rather a hurdle to overcome. Jeffrey saw in me something that I myself never did, and for that, I am forever grateful. Until the end, Jeffrey had an uncanny ability to bring the best out of not only himself, but also out of all those around him. Jeffrey's contribution to this community is invaluable, his impact immeasurable. Many have said that with Jeffrey's passing, we have lost great potential. While well-intentioned, I believe the term potential is rather inappropriate. For me to say Jeffrey was someone with potential slights all he has realized and all he has accomplished in so short a life. For this reason, I prefer to say instead that with Jeffrey's passing, we have lost a great man, a great friend, a great brother, and a great son. I'll miss you, Jeffrey. May we all find peace in your memory. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Timothy Ho.
I don't think I had many classes with Jeffrey, mainly because all of the science classes and AP courses he took were more than I could dream of handling myself. So the most significant memories I have of him took place outside of the classroom setting, or it wasn't so much about the grades, but it was more about, as our water polo coach said to us one time before a game, having fun. Something that had always been a running joke between the two of us was the one time in sophomore year when Jeffrey beat me in the 50 breaststroke during one of our swim meets at CPE. I remember that meet because we were swimming in the lanes right next to each other, and I remember taking an extra pull right before the wall, then looking up at the scoreboard to see that Jeffrey had gone first and I had gone second right after him. For the rest of that year and for the rest of our high school years together, we would always bring up that story because even though it was such a small event in the course of our lives at Whitney, it was just really fun for us to keep remembering that one fateful breaststroke that ruined my life, as we like to call it. After we had both graduated and Jeffrey went all the way to the other side of the country for college, we lost touch with each other. But in the summer of 2010, we realized that we had both were taking the Green Line and the Blue Line to our internships downtown. I think I had either seen him or he had seen me on the train one morning, and we came to the conclusion that not only had we been both taking the train every weekday, but that our internships were only 2 blocks away from each other. From that day on for the rest of the summer, Jeffrey and I made it a point to try and be on the same train so that we could sit with each other. Although we didn't actually plan a time to leave our houses and get on the train, we both kind of knew which train we had to catch and would try and find each other in the second-to-last train car on the Green Line at the Norwalk station. I remember that it would motivate me to wake up on time and get out the door each morning because I wanted to get on the train and see the back of Jeffrey's head as he was sitting and waiting for me to sit down next to him. Looking back, I'm so fortunate for that summer because it allowed me to become reunited with a good friend whom I had lost contact with. I guess out of anyone from high school, he was the one I had seen the most that summer because I saw him every day for 2 hours, 1 hour going downtown and 1 hour coming back to Cerritos. On the train back home one day towards the end of summer, we were playing a game where one person would say the name of one of our high school classmates and the other person would have to say their birthday. At the most, I could remember months that people were born as a result of making the birthday walls in junior year, but Jeffrey was able to remember both the month and the day. After a while, our game turned into me saying people's names, and Jeffrey, for the most part, successfully remembering their birthdays. This was not only a testament to his brain power, but also showed how much he cared about his friends to remember their birthdays, even though we had been out of high school for 2 years at that point. What I'll miss most about Jeffrey is his humility. Even though he was one of the smartest people in our year, he never flaunted his brain power and was always willing to help anyone who asked him. He would always compliment everyone and make sure that everyone was happy, even if it meant bringing himself down. His kindness and humility were 2 of his strongest traits, and I will always have good memories of him because he always made sure that our encounters were positive ones. So thank you, Jeffrey, for being tall enough to spot in a crowd, but never for thinking that you were higher up than anyone else. Most of all, thank you for being a good friend who cared about the happiness and well-being of everyone around you. I'll miss that high, yelpy sound you'd make sometimes, and how you'd flail your arms as the water polo goalie, but never give up in trying to block the shots that people threw at you. I'll miss how you would let me be taller than you in pictures, and how one time I commented that you looked shorter on a day that you wore a yellow shirt, and every time you wore yellow after that, you told me that I looked tall. I'll miss you.
Thank you, Tim. Our next speeches are by Anam Khan and Chandni Raja, as read by Jeannie Thang.
Hi, everyone. I would like to read from Anam Khan first. She is from the class of 2009. The fact that I am writing this from the UK shows just how many people Jeff touched. I knew him through a variety of activities, including Model United Nations, Aspects, and Key Club. He and I were both newspaper editors. I remember staying at school from 3 p.m. until 11 p.m. some nights. But no matter how tired or how overworked he was, Jeff always exuded this positive energy. He always lightened up the press room, bringing us laughs and keeping us from going crazy as we edited articles, fixed layouts, and tried to keep the Hansam SAT ad from being overstretched. Everyone knows at Whitney that there are a couple of true standouts each year, and Jeff was definitely one of them. There's no doubt in my mind that he would have gone on to do great things. To Jeff's family, it is clear that you raised an amazing son, someone who brought sunshine into my life while I was at Whitney. And this is from Chandni Raja from the class of 2008. We all know from what others have written about him that Jeffrey was smart and talented, but he is remembered for much more than that. No matter what was going on in his life or at Whitney, Jeffrey would always be positive, always smiling, and always friendly. Not only did we go through Gonzalez together, but I also worked with him in aspects during high school. And though press nights would always be stressful when the clock struck 10 p.m., Jeffrey would remain his usual self, relaxed and smiling. Nothing could touch him, and if it did, no one else saw it, because he always set that example for us. I met him again after a few years, when we had both finished about 2 years of college, and it was great to catch up with him and see that college had not changed that side of him. He was ever ready to help and to put his own troubles aside to be there for others. I admired that part of him so much, and I strive to do the same. He touched so many lives, and that is what he will be remembered for. His kindness and compassion, his passion for learning, and his willingness to serve. Those are things that I'm sure that we all try to emulate in our own lives. I most certainly feel motivated by his life to do the same. I want to offer my condolences to his family. My mother and I remember Jeffrey's mom and how much work she did for Gonzalez and for the community. It is clear where Jeffrey got his passion for people and for service. You are in my thoughts and my prayers. Thank you.
Our next speaker is friend of Jeffrey's and member of the school board, Sophia Say.
First of all, I want to bow my head to this family. I want to tell you, you raised a wonderful, great citizen for the United States. I also want to say thank you. I don't want to call you kids anymore. You're no longer kids anymore. You are gentlemen and ladies. You had done a great job today within half hour any, right? 45 minutes, get the party just ready to go. I call party because Jeffrey's a great man. He had done a lot. Some of you guys don't know me and Jeffrey's relationship. I was one that can call him stupid. I remember actually back a long time ago, May and I, because we have last two the same years. Matthew is 1986 and Jeffrey 1980, same as my two kids. We were together raising kids when it was in the church fellowship. So that's how long we know each other's. One day Jeff called me, I think May called me, say, Jeff want to go nursing. And I say, why nursing, Jeff? You're so smart. You're stupid. You should go to medical. Medicine can make more money. You know what Jeff told me? Jeff said, no, Sophie. Nursing is direct care. Nursing is really see the needs of the people. Nursing will be right at the bedside. I said, Jeff, you're right. And I also see other side of him is very smart and real funny. And he pat my shoulder and said, I'm going to be your boss in the morning, one of this day. I say, feel free. You can take over now. Jeffrey have a really great vision. Some people doesn't see nursing. Most people see nursing just at bedside, give it shots and take care of that. But not seeing other side of There's IT, there's computer, there's administration, there's why needed. I want to tell May and Howard and Matthew, you better had done actually, that nobody has had this vision, nursing not just only bedside. And Jeffrey reminds me, because I am the front line, I do a lot of computer work, and I do a lot of administration work. Most people thought I'm just bedside shotter. No. Jeffrey see that people need not just to cure them, but to see the improvement. That is his another vision, and people don't see it as young people. So I want to call ladies and gentlemen, you have a best friend, not just a friend, not just academic, psychosocial. He has reached his maximum. And for his leaving from us, it's sad. It's hard. I cannot feel how May feel right now. But as a mother speaking, it is tough. That day when I find out, my Susan told me, Mom, what happened to Jeffrey? I went crazy. I don't believe that. I called the phone because I know Howard doesn't answer the phone most of the time. Not until you pick up your voice, you'll pick up the phone. And this time he didn't pick up my phone, so I said something wrong. I went to the house, I went everywhere. And I was sad. I am still sad right now. But can we do something? Yes, we can. I want to tell May, you have the beloved son. Everybody loves him. We'll remember him forever. Again, thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. Good job. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Say. Our next speaker is Alan S. Chen.
Throughout high school, I looked up to Jeff, both figuratively and literally. He was and still is one of the most impressive people I have met. With the awesome ability to understand himself, others, and the world around him at the same time, he was truly my ideal role model. He had all the characteristics of a great friend. When times were stressful, he put his heart into helping others. I remember as a frightened freshman, unprepared to give a speech in our first Model UN debate, Jeff taught me how to calm myself in front of a large audience. As I took a nervous stroll to the podium, I could see him giving me his trademark, bright, supporting smile from across the room. I still hear him now. Don't think about them, he advised. Just focus on yourself. Whenever I speak in public, I still hear those words, especially today. Jeff had that effect on everyone. He made everyone around him feel comfortable and welcome. He had an amazing ability to make people laugh, whether it was his horrible puns or absurd speeches or inhuman ability to get 103% on a test with no extra credit. He met everyone with a smile and open arms, and he really brought out the best in people. As I got to know him better, he inspired and showed me that there is much more to learn, there's always much more to understand, and more to achieve. He demonstrated what I thought to be the impossible, and he motivated me to push myself to become a better student and a better person. He always astonished me with his knowledge. Whether it was science, politics, literature, there was never a conversation Jeff couldn't hold. And the best part was that he loved sharing his knowledge, taking the initiative to teach others about his passions. Jeff showed that fortitude, passion, and friendship were the key ingredients to a fruitful life. And he certainly led by example. He put his heart into his friends and work. It's clear from the attendance today that Jeffrey's persistence and will to achieve a positive impact on the world has touched so many of you. Though it's disappointing that maybe we'll never know what success he may have achieved, he certainly has made his mark in all of us, and we will never forget him. Thank you.
Next we have Young Kim. In the time I spent with him, I could only admire Jeffrey. To me, he was and still is the best role model. Kind, caring, genuinely smart, but most of all, he was really humble about all his accomplishments. No matter who the person was, he would strive to do his best in reaching out and be a brother to him or her. These are all characteristics of a true Christian, which is really hard to live up to. That is why I'm really glad that I met him early on in high school. Even though I was a year younger than him, he treated me like someone equal to him, really valuing my ideas and thoughts honestly. But the thing that really made him stand out was the fact that he always gave help out. Whenever I needed advice on something, be it academic, concerns about the future, or life in general, he was always there, offering really helpful and enlightening advice. Without him, I feel I really wouldn't have pursued last year amidst this huge maze of academics, and always lost in thinking, oh hey, college decisions. But thanks to him, I am where I am today. As I was looking back on Jeffrey's life, I recall the question he asked me, "Hey Young, do you have a quote that would characterize me?" It's a really odd question to ask, but it's for one of those various scholarships he was always applying for. So I seriously thought about it, and I answered it with a line from a random TV show: excitement, my style to limit my will. I remember he chuckled a bit on it, and I'm pretty sure he really didn't use it. But when I think about how he led his life, I feel that quote really sums up how he lived life, working hard, playing hard, pushing his limits, all the while being himself. We are gathered here to remember him, yet, in addition to looking back at special ways he lived our lives and touched each and every one of us, let us keep his spirit forever alive in our hearts by living life the way he did, full force and without any regrets. Thanks, Jeff, for everything you've done. I will always remember you, in heart and in memory. Thank you. Our next speaker is from our faculty here at Whitney High School, and that is Mr. Bender.
I had the privilege of teaching Jeff in both Science 8 and Chemistry Honors, but I actually met Jeffrey when he was in elementary school, and what a first impression he made. It was at an open house, and I had various students around the classroom demonstrating different demonstrations. At that time, Jeffrey started explaining to me the science he already knew that was related to each demonstration around the room. And I remember telling him how much I was looking forward to the year he would actually be in my class. Fast forward to 8th grade, and Jeffrey had reached the maximum number of work points in my class, yet he chose to share his creative talents by playing Judge Newton in his group's Law of Motion Creative Content DVD project. I found it remarkable that he would put so much of himself into an extra credit project when he already had an A+ without it, simply because he wanted to. 2 years later, Jeffrey started my chemistry honors course by telling me his goal was to get 100% on every exam first semester, to which I inadvertently responded, "Well, I'll give you my car if you can pull that off." And I started getting worried when I wrote 100% again on his 4th exam. Thankfully for my budget, there was one exam that caught him off guard, yet he'd never lost his determination to push himself to his academic limits. That Christmas, Jeffrey gave me the most unusual gift, a 15-inch model sports car, jokingly apologizing for failing to earn the car that I had offered. And later he gave me another car, so now I have one on display in my classroom and one displayed at home. When he first heard about the National Chemistry Olympiad, he decided he was going to ace that exam, even though it was written for second-year students. So he decided to start a chemistry club, so he could personally help any students interested in preparing for that exam. He naturally took it upon himself to help first-year chemistry students that year also prepare for the AP chemistry exam. Although I helped little, Jeffrey was the most responsible for getting himself and others to earn a 5 on the AP chemistry exam sophomore year. I took a leave of absence during his junior year, but when I visited, I heard from teachers that Jeffrey and the new chemistry club were working closely and frequently with the new chemistry honors students. They were also leading science demonstrations at Whitman Elementary School's after-school daycare. Elementary teachers found out about Jeffrey and asked him to come during the school day and teach all the 5th graders about the states of matter. As a result, I had the pleasure of serving as his assistant, as Jeffrey very comfortably led a demonstration filled from a raised stage in front of 60 enthusiastic 5th graders. During his senior year, I wrote this about Jeffrey. Jeffrey is extremely comfortable and outgoing, talking with anyone, peers, older or younger students, or adults of any status. He lowers the overall stress level when he enters a room with just a simple smile. He knows when to be playful and witty with words and when to be serious. I'm impressed by his mature ability to understand other people's perspectives. I have enjoyed many random positive conversations with Jeffrey and have been pleasantly surprised by his spontaneous offers to help out in any way. All faculty and students will greatly benefit from Jeffrey's interactions and contributions. He proved my last statement to be true from all I've recently read from those who have had the pleasure of interacting with Jeffrey at UPenn. I started to think that Jeffrey's name is Sunshine. 2 Novembers ago, I was able to visit Jeffrey at UPenn, and he was the most gracious of tour guides. As people passed us by on campus, I was amazed at how many people knew Jeffrey and were so happy to see him. Last winter break, Jeffrey made sure that we had another chance to catch up with each other, and we shared a lot beyond just school and academics. He was very comfortable sharing with me about his faith in God and his heart for missions, and he was genuinely inquisitive about my own spiritual journey. He told me how much he appreciated so many people who had been so helpful to him growing up. He then inquired about the car that he had failed to earn from me. He said he had been saving money and was wondering if I was interested in selling it to him. But he wasn't interested in buying the car for himself. He wanted to buy it to give to his older brother because he so appreciated him. For the past 10 years, Jeffrey Lee has brightened up my life, and this week I am grateful to learn that he has done the same for hundreds and hundreds of other people. We have all been so blessed to know Jeffrey Lee.
Next, we have a speech prepared by Deb Leung, as read by Pamela Leung.
I'm speaking on behalf of my sister Debbie Leung. I have so many memories of you. Key Club, Aspects, talking online, that one camping trip where you were freezing, robotics, water polo, and they've all come surging back like a dam that burst open. Here are some of the more vivid ones. I met you sometime in 7th grade, probably in robotics. Then one day, a random AIM Scream name messages me by the name of Bobbert Kim 0890. You told me once what it stood for, but I don't remember it anymore. It was strange because you seemed to know stuff about me, like my birthday and where I went to school. It probably wasn't the smartest thing, talking to a perceived stranger, but you were a good conversationalist. And I figured if anything weird happened, I'd block you on AIM because that's the most serious punishment you could do in the 7th grade. When I talked to you at school, you knew about stuff I had talked about with Bobbert. I eventually figured out who Bobbert was, and we became friends after that. The summer after 8th grade, you were the one that encouraged me to try water polo. I did, I loved it, and I played all 4 years of high school. In some of our conversations, you used to jokingly call me names like Miss Aspects, Editor-in-Chief, Key Club President, Water Polo Captain. And I would say you were Mr. 4.0, Water Polo Captain, Space Set President, Robotics President. The names were different every time. It was silly, but it was a confidence booster nonetheless for what we could be in the future. Then there was Halloween your senior year, when you volunteered at the Cerritos Haunted House with me. Earlier that day, you had gotten your burrito costume ready, butcher paper from the ASB room, because you had heard that if you showed up at Chipotle dressed as a burrito, you would get one for free. We stayed until just past 10 o'clock cleaning up at the haunted house, so by the time we got to Chipotle, it was closed. You had the costume all ready, but no free burrito. I still owe you one. After we finished cleaning up at the haunted house, we walked back to my car through Regional Park, and along the way there was litter on the ground. To my surprise, you picked up a soda can from the ground in mid-stride and held onto it until we came to a trash can. I had never seen anyone do something like that before, and it struck me as a simple act. It barely took any time, but it had a big impact on the park and the goodness one could feel. The can was in our path, might as well pick it up. Now when I run across litter in my path, I just pick it up instead of stepping over it. When we had Aspects Banquet senior year, I remember I was so excited for your senior gift idea, because you usually didn't buy anything during press night food runs. We had We had gotten you gift certificates to all the places you had missed out on, namely Chipotle. Although I've only seen you a few times the last few years, each time we talk it up and catch up like no time has passed. I think the last time I saw you was when we played basketball with Pamela. You were going easy on us. Thanks for being a good friend. You always had a joke or a clever remark to make and possessed the amazing ability to make the people around you smile no matter what. You were friends with everyone and had an unwavering character. You always made the point of saying no regrets, right? Which I never understood until now. But you were the complete embodiment of it. You totally did it. You knew yourself well, you knew exactly what you wanted, and you went for it. You are one of the strongest people I know. It's inconceivable that you're gone. I miss you, buddy. Cheers to you, Debbie.
Our next speaker is Jason Koo.
Good morning, everyone. For those that don't know me, my name's Jason. I graduated from Whitney along with Jeff back in 2008, and I've known him since 5th grade when I first met him at First Evangelical Church of Cerritos. We suffered through many of the same classes together at Whitney. Math with Fierro, Chem with Bender, Espanol con Senora Olmsted, and also a lot of same extracurriculars like many of you, chess club, chem club, aspects, water. I remember water polo. He was the one that taught me how to even tread water properly, so I could join water polo and avoid having to run the mile every day. Now those were good times, but over the years, as we grew up together at church and at school, I got to know the same Jeff as the caring, hardworking, generous, magnanimous student, athlete, and friend, the same one that many of you know. And even after we went our separate ways to college, it was really him. It was really he that contacted me from time to time, say, hey, let's catch up over Thanksgiving or over winter break when we're both back in Cerritos. I remember the last time I met up with him, it was at the Baja Fresh on South Street, and we both got to share in the joy of the two of us finding solid biblical churches to commit ourselves to. And I was so encouraged to hear all the ways he'd been growing spiritually, all the things that he'd been learning from God's Word, all the lives he was impacting there, and all the relationships he was building with Christians at his church. That's kind of briefly what I wanted to talk about today, which is that which Jeff and I and all the Christians have in common. That it far eclipses any high school activity, club, or sport that we share. More than a fellow student, classmate, or team member, Jeff was a dear brother in Christ to me because we profess the same Savior. For Christians who have put their trust in eternal life in Christ Jesus, there is no fear of physical death that is inevitable in all of us. And I would just like to share a couple of passages from the Bible. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 55 to 57, it reads, O death, where is your victory? O death, where is your sting? The sting of death is sin, and the power of sin is the law. But thanks be to God who gives us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 13 and 14. But we do not want you to be uninformed, brethren, about those who are asleep, so that you will not grieve as do the rest who have no hope. For if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so God will bring with him those who have fallen asleep in Jesus. And lastly, in 1 Timothy, the book of 1 Timothy tells us that God desires all men to be saved and to come to the knowledge of the truth, for there is one God and one mediator also between God and men, the man Christ Jesus, who gave himself as a ransom for all, the testimony given at the proper time. And this is the great hope that every true believer shares, that whoever puts their trust in Christ's finished work on the cross finds forgiveness of sins past, present, and future, and we will all rejoice in the true life that comes after this temporal life. The death of our beloved classmate Jeff comes as a shock. No one in today's age expects healthy and athletic 21-year-olds to leave so soon. But we're sobered and we're reminded that this life is temporal. Our next breath is by no means guaranteed to us. And it is through God's common grace that all of us sit here alive and well, and we can celebrate Jeff's life together. I'm so thankful and I feel so blessed to have gotten to know Jeff during his time here. I, along with all other Christians here, grieve the physical death of Jeff because of how much we love him and how much we will miss him. But we do not grieve as do the rest who have no hope, but rather we look forward to the day that we're all called home, where we will greet Jeff and all the others who have died in Christ. Thank you.
Our final scheduled speaker before we open up the floor is Kevin Nguyen.
I'd like to share one particular memory that I shared with Jeffrey, one that resonated with me all throughout high school, a moment that continues to inspire me today. During sophomore year of high school, Jeff and I participated in a research internship at the Long Beach VA hospital. Our primary objective was to utilize census data to project the supply of registered nurses in the U.S. versus their demand over the next 20 years. Using this data, we had to assign grades to each of the 50 states, which would reveal whether there's a shortage of RNs in any state. To our surprise, we assigned a grade of C or lower to over 3/4 of the states. And when it became evident to the both of us that a nationwide RN shortage was on the horizon, Jeff told me, "Kevin, this is a very serious issue. There must be something I can do about it." And do something about it he did. 2 years later, as we know, Jeff applied for the dual degree program in nursing and business at UPenn. And when he was accepted, I congratulated him, thinking to myself, wow, he's actually going to do it. He's actually going to make a difference. From this experience, I learned of a particular quality of Jeff, this powerful sense of dedication. 2 years prior to applying for colleges, Jeff identified a critical issue in healthcare and was really determined to put himself in the position to make a difference. To have this all mapped out at the age of 15 was really astounding, really inspiring to me, and really made me think about the kind of impact I wanted to make when I reached that level of maturity that he had at such a young age. Jeffrey was, to me and to his friends around him, the ideal student and the ideal friend. In his 6-year journey through the cardboard walls of Whitney High, he so perfectly balanced academics with a multitude of activities, while still reserving time to play basketball or video games with his friends. The image of the stereotypical Whitney student, that thinly stretched, overworked, sleep-deprived caricature, seemingly did not apply to Jeff. Jeff did it all, and he made it look effortless, and he did it with a smile, taking that contagiously positive nature of his and captivating the rest of us. 4 years into college, I have yet to meet another individual who so seamlessly combines intelligence, ambition, and a genuine sense of caring to the extent that he did. Jeff, thank you so much for all the memories. Your passion for the things you believe in continues to inspire me. Take care, my friend. I'm really going to miss you. Thank you.
At this point, we have time for 4 more people if there is anyone else who would like to come up and say something about Jeffrey and would like to share. Okay, no one? All right, at this point then, I would like to call up Jeffrey's brother, Matthew Lee, just to close up everything.
There are many things I could say about Jeffrey. I've had the privilege of, knowing him for 21 years as a brother, so there was a lot he shared with me. There were many moments I remember. I was looking through Jeffrey's senior yearbook just the other day. I remember a quote that he said, "I'm like the sunshine because I like to make people smile." That quote, from what I could see, that quote was pretty true, both in high school and in college, because he always cared about other people more than himself. In college, the Wharton and nursing dual degree program was fairly stressful to him, and he often ran things by me to make sure he had his grammar down properly, his essays flowed well, or one article or another was in its proper place. And sometimes I'd get them at very strange times of the day, like 4, 5 a.m., and I'd wonder, "Jeff, when is this due? Why are you sending it to me like this?" And then I read in the email, "Oh yeah, this is due in the morning at 9. It's like, ugh. And then I asked, "Jeff, why?" And then he told me that he had been helping other people with either their work or through one crisis or another they've been having until just like 3:30 in the morning. He did this pretty consistently, actually. Papers, sometimes when he needed review material for midterms. And he really cared more about other people than himself. He gave 150% where they were concerned. He always had the saying that academics came first. Academics came first. He'd always tell his friends that. He'd tell me that. He'd tell everyone that, but you could tell it wasn't true. He put academics first, yeah, but only after other people. Because really, he cared about them, and he wanted to make a difference in their lives, one at a time, like the sunshine. The final morning of Jeff's life, he woke up bright and happy. The final text message he sent was to Mom, wishing her a happy birthday. The first thing he had scheduled after his run was over was to call her and wish her that in more detail. On the final morning of Jeff's life, he gathered with his friends, walked over to the starting place of the Philly Marathon, and set off. On the final morning of his life, he ran the race of his life. He beat the goal that he set for himself. He had said he'd run it in under 2 hours, and he did. On the final morning of his life, he ran through Philadelphia. He ran across that finish line. On the final morning of his life, he collapsed into an EMT's arms, and he passed instantly without pain. I had the privilege of being there at the beginning, when he was first brought home. I remember thinking when I was a kid that, oh man, he's going to take away my attention. And then I remember that for a while he just cried late at night, kept me from sleeping, and I got annoyed. But he grew up well. He grew up well. And when I was just learning my multiplication tables in second grade, he learned them first. He beat me. And then one day when he showed up, coming with my mom to pick me up, it somehow slipped out to my friends that he knew the multiplication tables. They were like, "What? Really? A 4-year-old? That's not possible." But it was. They quizzed him. 7 times 8, 9 times 12, 14 times 14, and he would get them all. But he was never arrogant about his knowledge. He always loved to share. I remember Mom was relating an anecdote about when he was in first grade in the combined first and second grade class. He would stay after school for some reason. We didn't quite know why. The teacher called my mom in one day, and my mom was worried, thinking maybe Jeffrey had gotten into trouble or done some mischief. But it turned out that Jeff had been staying behind to help teach math to some of the second graders who needed help. He spent a lot of himself. He didn't ask for much, but he gave to anyone who asked. Anyone who needed him, rather, whether they asked or not. Everything they needed. And more. Jeff was a great brother. Jeff was a great friend. And I will miss him. I'll miss him dearly. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Matt. And now we have Jeffrey and Matthew's father, Howard Lee, who would like to say a few words.
Hi, my name is Howard. I'm Jeffrey's father, and I want to thank you for everyone who come here and pay your last respect to Jeff. And I couldn't thank you guys enough, and thank you for all the kind work, and also tell me some of the things that he did in Whitney High School. See, that's always the saying. The mother is the first one to know what's going on. The dad is always the last one to know. Okay? Yeah, he's always the bottom of totem poles, as far as that goes. But I know my son's always good, but I didn't know he's this good. And I'm glad, I'm glad that you guys kind of told me about it in high school. And funny, I remember saying, you don't know how popular you are until you die. And when he passed, the last week I was in Philly, and I was, they actually have 4. I'm sorry, I just need to control my emotion. I can't help it crying. When I'm small, see, I come from Hong Kong, where the old Chinese traditions, my father said, you are a man, you do not cry, okay? Doesn't matter what, you are a man, you don't cry. And I just can't help but cry. They have 4 memorial service. The very first one, and the first couple one was like on the Monday, it was the Sunday night that Sunday was the morning he passed, and they had a couple sessions. They thought it was just a mediocre, memorial service. They only have a very small room, and then the thing was filled and was lying up outside the hall, so they had to literally change the place, and was standing room only, and everybody cried their head out. And I wasn't there, but I heard about it, and then they decided to have, because so many people decided to have another memorial service like 2 hours later. Same thing repeated itself. I was fortunate to be there on Monday night's memorial. I've been to many, many memorials. Because since you're an old man, you see a lot of your friend pass and whatever, And I never seen so many people cry at the memorial. I think Bernard probably could tell you that too. Yeah, and so we all know he's a stellar achiever, academically. He's a stellar scholar. But a lot, and I know he's helping people too, but I didn't know he's so helpful with the others. And that legacy, what he did in Whitney, actually continues at University of Pennsylvania. and he does even more. And he continued his leadership, and he found, there are many other clubs and many other nice, meaningful organizations. Either he's a founder or he's a co-founder. And also, because he have such a selfless attitude, he always want to help the others before help himself. Mom is always saying, I don't know what's wrong with this son. He's packing, before you go off on summer, they always have to pack and have the stuff stored so he can come home, right? Because you have to clear out the dorm. Why he's always packing around 4 a.m.? He said, Mom, I just come back helping the other people pack. They don't know how to pack. and Mom was very frustrated. And who he always blamed to is yours truly. I don't know why, but I'm the only one who hears it. He doesn't hear it, but I know. I say, hey, as long as he helps others, as long as he get a pack, it's okay. He said, well, yeah, but he have to get up like 8 in the morning and take the plane, and I feel his leg. But for one odd reason or the other, he always able to finish it on time, able to take care of things. And even though it means he sacrificed his sleep, and as long as everybody benefits from it. And at University of Pennsylvania, everybody, not only the School of Wharton, School of Nursing, and a lot of people on campus, that has different cups, they all tell me how good my son was and how he helped the other people, and he can always manage a really beautiful smile, and his, when he comes in the room, he lights up the whole room and cheers everybody, and I say, wow, this happens in Whitney, and he continued his legacy. He actually, I'm not trying to brag about it. In fact, when I talk to you, I want to cry. I want to cry. I'm sorry. Give me a moment. Not only he continued, that the selfless attitude, and he continued, and he even excelled. He even do more, and in the University of Pennsylvania so far, he's the first one in such a 3.5 years that he touched so many lives and create such a legacy that has never been done before in over 100 and some years of UPenn history. In fact, they're thinking about giving. They're thinking, but I'm not 100% sure. They were talking to might set up a scholarship to honor him. So that means a lot. Okay. And so, I urge everybody, be counted, be somebody. Go out and touch somebody and help the society and have good selfless attitude. We need more people like that in the world to change the world for the better and carry out Jeff's vision. And he always had a vision to make the world better, a better place for everybody. And we need somebody like that. And if we can all follow his footsteps, the world would be that much better for every one of us, including yours truly. And also I want to send a message to everybody that has parents, and also for the ones that have children. The one who has parents, be kind to them, because you don't know if you can talk to them tomorrow and say hi to them tomorrow, they might not be around. Or be good to your children, because I was talking to Jeff, that Saturday night before his race, and I was asking him, I remember vividly, I said, Jeff, when is your graduation? Me and Mom and Matt, I'm going to reserve a plane ticket to see your graduation. So, and because he's supposed to tell me, I said, I haven't heard from you, because he's so busy with helping others and his own, and his own academic schedule. See, most of people, like UPenn, they have a slightly different system. Like, okay, we are going like 12 units is your full-time minimum, and then 18 is really a lot, per quarter semester, and 24 units is really out of your mind, right? But UPenn, if you have like about 3 or 4 units, it's like about 15. About 3 units, about 15, and then he normally take 6 or 7, and it's equivalent to like more than 20 to 24 units, because he, and I guess someone mentioned about his 2-degree program. It's supposed to take 5 years to finish, because you have the business school part and the nursing school part. See, like one of the fellow students say, he have a vision to be counted, to help, in the nursing field, as well as, or even like, actually more like in the healthcare management field. They need more people like that. But then because the dad has been I've been laid off, since, like 2010, so financially I'm not that sound. He's so kind that he wants to take as many units as he can, so he can finish in 4 years rather than have U.S. children pay for extra year. He's that caring, in a personal term. And I know he's a good friend for with every one of you. That I'm glad that you tell me, because now I know even more about it than I have heard from a little bits and pieces from my wife. And I'm glad I was in Philly, over the past weekend, that like I say, I know my son was good, but I didn't know he's that good. But just please continue his legacy. Oh yeah, I want to tell you the detail of what the text messaging is. Matthew already told you that he text message to Mom, but this is really touching. That he's even with his last work, he's such a good son on the human side. He said, off to run the marathon. Happy birthday, Mom. Love, Jeff. He's always such a caring son. Actually, I have 2 really fine sons, and that's a gift from God. And I couldn't ask for more. I even said this when I was at University of Pennsylvania. But please, if you guys can carry on his legacy and be counted and help others and become and be so selfless that put others before putting yourself. Doesn't matter who you are. If you could do that and do it together, I'm sure every one of you can change the world. And thank you very much for coming. And from the bottom of our Lee family heart, really appreciate everything you guys did. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. In closing, we have Annie Lynn.
Now I know where Jeffrey got his humor side and his good orating skills. When I first told my mom about Jeffrey's passing, she cried to me and said that the person who got it the worst was Jeffrey's mom. Because, Mrs. Lee, I don't think I've ever introduced myself to you, but I saw you working for my mom at one of Whitney High School's PTA's foundation dinners. It was at the Performing Arts Center, and standing next to you, cutting fruit along with you, was Jeffrey. And I thought I was a hotshot because I was there getting, I think, one of the lowest scholarships, and I was performing with Chinese Club. Jeffrey was there receiving the highest scholarship, and he was standing there cutting fruit with you. He was a really, really good son, and I only aim to be just as respectful as he was to you. Well, let's switch it to a lighter note. Jeffrey, as I affectionately called him, Hefe, was very nice to everyone, so it's easy for me to say that he was my friend. And one of my fondest memories, and this is piggybacking off of Bernard, saying that Jeffrey knew about 100 digits of pi. And in this memory, which happened in Mrs. Fierro's class, 6th period of our junior year, Jeffrey decided to recite pi backwards. And from this memory, I learned 3 things about him. He was dedicated, he didn't allow himself to be typical, and that he had a head like the size of Mary Poppins' bat. Like, what? How do you stuff 100 digits into your head? There's no... Anyways. So in Mrs. Fierro's room, if you've seen it, across the walls is 3.14159 all across. And so Jeffrey started reciting it, and the rest of us followed. He was right. He was right. Oh, he messed up. So I thought to myself, yes, he is human after all. And then he corrected himself and said, wait, hold on. No, it should be. And he continued naming it off correctly all the way around, and he finished. I think the rest of us were all just, we didn't know what to say. And that shows that Jeffrey is dedicated. I mean, there's no pattern whatsoever in memorizing pi. You just got to do it. And he found time to do it amongst all the various activities that he's been involved in. And then the next thing I thought of after, whoa, dude, he got it all right. How did he do that? Was, who does that? And apparently Jeffrey did, because he wasn't afraid to do out of the ordinary things. Jeffrey was indeed extraordinary. Lastly, Bernard, do you want to come with me? We want to thank everyone for coming to this memorial service. It was a blessing to have all of you with us. And before we go, though, I must give thanks to the planning committee, so we call ourselves. There was Bernard, and you want to name him?
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, from Vincent, Kevin, Tim, Jeannie, Amy, JP, Mrs. Perry, Mr. Glonchak, everybody, the City of Cerritos for helping us get this venue. Otherwise, we would not have been able to fit everybody in the MPR. Seeing everybody here today is amazing.
And also, I go to USC, so we're known for our Trojan family, but I don't think it compares to the Whitney family, because once one mom found out that Jeffrey had passed, I got a lot of phone calls, and flower arrangements were made, and things were done for us. So, Councilwoman Sophia, we have a lot to thank for you.
Last but not least, we would like to thank Jeffrey's family for being here and all of our guests, because without your support, we would not have been able to pull this together. Thank you again, everybody, and thank you, Jeffrey, for being a part of our lives.
There's also a book that if you guys like to tell what a few last words to Jeff, please write it in here. I carry a bag with me from UPenn, and a lot of friends already wrote a lot of stuff in there. But if you guys can continue, if you want to tell them what your feelings about him, please, it's over there for you. Okay. Thank you very much again for coming, and really, our whole family really appreciate everyone of you, and especially the teaching staff. Academically, you guys make him the way he is today. Okay? And I guess the rest of it is from the friends, and I'm the last one who comes to credit. I'm the bottom of the totem pole. I just work and be the financial support person, basically. But Mom is the one who takes some credit for that. Because she's always with him. In fact, she decided to quit her job when both kids when he's like about 6 months old and start bringing up the family, I guess I can see that, Jeff has the family value side because, that's the way we always do. In fact, I have to time the bell when she quit the job, but we have two happy and bright child, instead of being really wealth, like fancy cars, fancy house, but we have very happy family. And to me, that means a lot more. And in fact, I just remember, can I just, can you guys spare me just a few minutes? Okay. He already, with nowadays economic, it's hard to find a job, including yours truly, that I was laid off. Even though I thought I myself was a damn good engineer. But he was able to land a job with Microsoft. Actually, he already had an offer from Morgan Stanley, the past summer that he was intern with, and he was only intern that actually get an offer of a full-time job next summer when he graduates, and with the job waiting for him. But he would tell me, he said that this would be my last choice because I really want to be with the family. You guys are not getting any young. Yeah, I told him that. Yeah, I'm an old man, but I'm still okay. But he also, he went on for the interview, in New York. He also got a nice offer from McCann Brothers, and then he got a nice, a very good offer from Microsoft. Instead of going to, so Morgan Stanley has that. Monetary value-wise, Morgan Stanley was the best, but the next was Ken Brothers and Ken Brothers and Microsoft. But he told me, he said that I would rather not take theirs, and in fact he wanted to choose Microsoft because it's closest to California, so he can talk to us every night, and he can. He said if he need to come back in just a short time, instead of 5-6 hours flight, like a couple hours. He's that caring to the family. So so I want you guys to know his human side too. Like not just academic. So thank you for giving me this extra time. Appreciate it.
It really is a blessing to see all of you here. His friends, those who knew him, his teachers, even Dr. Brock, a former principal, and Ms. Hager for coming back, and all the people who knew and loved him. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for showing up today on a Saturday morning. Thank you for coming. It really means a lot, and I'm sure Jeffrey would have loved to see you all here. To know that all of you were together again, to be able to share tales of his life and to catch up with one another. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.